What's up, Blackish fam? I hope all is well in your corner of the world. We're continuing to dive into some Aesop rock and get into some of his older stuff. And man, somebody in the comment section actually gave me a really good idea. It definitely looks like there's completely different themes to his previous work. And as we jump around, I don't know if we can appreciate the collective of let's say garbology versus this album or this one. As we're jumping around now, and I'm really going off suggestions. Someone said you got to check out Purple Moss. I'm like, okay, I could see that being cool. I didn't really find too much on it though. There's no official video. I couldn't even find a lyric video, which leads me to believe this is maybe one of his not as popular songs. So really excited to get into this one. There's no lyrics, but this is my first time hearing it. This is Purple Moss. Here, let's check it out. And let's continue going through his catalog. And for those that might be new to the channel, if you just found us because of Purple Moss, we break down lyrically dense artists and lyrically dense music. If you're looking to just hear the song, this isn't the best place for you. We break down line by line and we try to understand the context of what he's saying. So yes, it's a reaction video, but we're really trying to get what the true message is or understand it as best we could. So it's just really my interpretation of it. There's a folder with a variety of Aesop Rock's material. I want to say we've broken down, it has to be at least 30 of these different tracks from Kirby to Mystery Alley to, or was it Mystery Fish, Pizza Alley, quite a bit of garbology. And now we're kind of going back through his catalog, even getting into some freestyles and Slug and Idea. And I just did one for Atmosphere. So we're continuing to kind of go through this journey. But let's get right into this. We're here for Purple Moss, right? Different.
I talk like it hurts to talk. Mascot of Murphy's Law, from the claw game at the Walt Whitman Mall to the worst cuts.
He said, I talk like it hurts to talk, right? Again, he's we all know that he keeps to himself, but he's again identifying as shy or doing this himself, right? He's not by himself because people don't like him. He seems to be by himself because he doesn't like people. I like what he said. He said, mascot of Murphy's Law, right? I think most people know Murphy's Law. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. There's actually a more extended version of that. It's anything that can go wrong will go wrong and at the worst possible time. So if you're the mascot for that, you're the absolute klutz, right? Let's let it ride.
Mascot of Murphy's Law, from the claw game at the Walt Whitman Mall to the worst curb cuts of the urban sprawl to what stirs in the purple moss.
The Walt Whitman Mall, it's just a mall in Long Island, New York. He's talking about the claw game, right? That's the one where you use the joystick to manipulate the claw, then it tries to go down and jump on something. I don't know if you guys have ever seen somebody use a big magnet. They use the joystick, but also use the magnet to help guide it on the side. Very cool. Nice little life hack.
Game at the Walt Whitman Mall to the worst curb cuts of the urban sprawl to what stirs in the purple moss.
The urban sprawl. The worst curb cuts of the urban sprawl definitely sounds like we know he skateboards, we know he rides bikes, right? So it sounds like it's somewhere where you're in an urban environment. Urban sprawl, that's something that many years ago, this terminology started being used, but it was more in a negative way. They were talking about the rapid expansion and the extent of cities and trickling into small towns and low density residential housing, right? Zoning and private cars, the atmosphere, the environment, social life, right? The economy, what happens politically. So there's a lot that comes into what they call an urban sprawl, but it's normally referred to as something that's more negative. What's that John Mayer song? waiting on the world to change, right? So something kind of similar to that, where they're trying to build an expressway through this natural area. That's at least the way I interpret it.
Game at the Walt Whitman Mall, to the worst curb cuts of the urban sprawl, to what stirs in the purple moss, which world make a purpless skirt of his quirks and flaws.
You know, what do you say there? And purple moss, just so you guys don't know, purple moss is like this natural, I believe it really is nothing but dried seawater, or sea moss, right? But it's an all natural thing. But what did he say there?
Cuts of the urban sprawl, to what stirs in the purple moss, which world make a purpless skirt of his quirks and flaws, to make it okay to learn who you are, no jury, instead of all in.
Which makes a perp less scared.
A purpless skirt of his quirks and flaws, to make
Okay.
it
No, perp means perpetrator, right? Doom doom. Old SVU face, right? Special Victims Unit. A perp, right? That's a slang. So maybe it's for himself, right? He said, what makes a perp less scared of his quirks and flaws? So it sounds like he wants to be his natural self, right? Let all his flaws and kind of misperfections come out. It sounds like he likes that, right?
urban sprawl, to what stirs in the purple moss, which world make a purpless skirt of his quirks and flaws, to make it okay to learn who you are, no jury, instead of all insecurity, no mercy.
So not be judged.
To make it okay to learn who you are, no jury, instead of all insecurity, no mercy. Every year your skin get thinner, you can almost see the abilifying as in it.
So if somebody says that you have thick skin, right? Thick skin means you're not sensitive to like criticism, right? You can get hit with insults. So if your skin is getting thinner, then you're becoming more sensitive over time, right?
No mercy. Every year your skin get thinner, you can almost see the abilifying as in it. If it's into the blood or back up.
Oh, did he just reference Abilify?
Every year your skin get thinner, you can almost see the abilifying as in it. If it's into the blood or back.
Abilify is I mean, I guess it does some good, right? Or it wouldn't be on the market. But Abilify has super drastic side effects. It's a medication, normally referred to as like an antipsychotic. But when you take Abilify, you're going to be throwing up. You're going to be nauseous. You're going to be constipated. You're going to have severe headaches. You're going to have suicidal thoughts, right? It's a major thing. But again, it's not specific to Abilify, but any type of antipsychotic medicine. If you're on Risperdal, right? Seroquel, these are debilitating. I mean, people have taken this stuff for like a month or two and their lip just stops moving, right? And it's like, okay, you're not depressed anymore because you're ugly. Now you're depressed because your face doesn't, you know what I mean? Like there's so much. It's just one of those things where you could really get into severe consequences with taking something like Abilify.
Every year your skin get thinner, you can almost see the abilifying as in it. If it's into the blood or back up through the gizzard with a little bit of last.
If it's into the blood or back up through the gizzard.
You can almost see the abilifying as in it. If it's into the blood or back up through the gizzard with a little bit of last night's dinner, liver.
Oh, it sounds like he's talking about puking, right? It's into the blood, or is it back up through the gizzard, right? With a little bit of last night's dinner, liver, he said.
If it's into the blood or back up through the gizzard with a little bit of last night's dinner, liver. Stand by for the van by the river, build ramps in the summer, tanned hides in the winter, anti-winter, stare at the.
Okay, so now we're getting this image of isolation, right? Not just the sickness, not just the getting away from the urban landscape, but he said stand by for the van by the river, right? Something about building ramps in the summer, tanned hides in the winter. So, you know, it sounds like he's definitely isolated. He's riding his bike, maybe an ATV. If there's still ramps, it doesn't have to be a skateboard or a bike, right? He could be vroom, vroom, you know, on an ATV, a four-wheeler, but tanning hide. So he's very isolated, right? He's making leather. He's living solo. He's living in a van, right? It definitely sounds like he said an anti-winner. So it sounds like he's definitely still positioning himself as this underdog, right? What was that movie? It sounds like he's the average Joe's, right? If you watch Dodgeball, Right? If you're gonna be a dodgeballer, you got to know the 5 D's: dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge. We forgot one of the D's. Who can guess it? Right? D's nuts, got him. But no, that's a dodgeball reference because the group name was Average Joes. But let's let it ride.
I put a van by the river, built ramps in the summer, tanned hides in the winter, anti-winter, stare at the stars from an empire builder to anywhere far.
So he said, stare at the stars from an empire builder to any. Kind of get this image of empire. The Empire State Building, isn't it? But it sounds like he's saying that he can appreciate living in nature, right? He's staring at the stars. Is an empire builder. It's something. It's bigger than himself. So it sounds like he's okay living in this all natural area versus this urban area.
From an empire builder to anywhere far. Live from an empire builder. Empire builder. Live from an empire builder. Wildfire in the wilderness.
Wildfire in the wilderness. Sounds like beautiful chaos, right? Natural wildfires.
Live from an empire builder. I shake my fist at the very same gate that I would have climbed up before I became lame. Now
I shake my fist at the same gate. Hey, Sonny, right? Shaking your fist. He's mad. He's mad at the same things that he said I would have climbed it. I'm mad at the gate, but I would have explored it more before I became lame, right? Let's let it ride for context.
I fisted the very same gate that I would have climbed up before I became lame. Now I just curse and pretend it's the same. Curse of the person who ain't do a thing, and everyone around you was surfing the wave.
Well, so it's interesting, right? He's saying he'll shake his fist. He's getting mad at obstacles that never bothered him before, right? He said before I became lame, I would have climbed it. So he's talking about your priorities change, right? Your perspective changes. He might also be talking about some sort of physical limitation as well, but he is getting older, right? So he sounds like he's talking about getting upset or mad for very different reasons. I don't think we know yet if it's his age, is it some behavioral change, an emotional change, right? Why is he now different? So is he cursing, right? He said curse at a person. What do you say?
Pretend it's the same. Curse at a person who ain't do a thing, and everyone
curse at a person who ain't do the same, or who ain't do a thing. What did he say there?
I shake my fist at the very same gate that I would have climbed up before I became lame. Now I just curse and pretend it's the same. Curse at a person who ain't do a thing, and everyone around you was surfing the wave.
Sounds like he's a little salty, right? Maybe like the salty moss, this purple moss.
Circle of saints, never mistook for a bird or a plane, mistook for a hearse in the rain.
So it sounds like he's talking about his experience with depression, right? What does he say? Never mistook for a bird or a plane, right? Is it a bird? Is it a plane? It's Superman. He said, no, to him, it's not. He mistook it for a hearse in the rain, right? So there's definitely, he's battling himself, that sounds like.
Mistook for a bird or a plane, mistook for a hearse in the rain.
And I think before that, he said it's hard when everyone around you is surfing a wave, right?
Curse of the person who ain't do a thing, and everyone around you is surfing the wave.
Yeah.
A singular jerk in a circle of saints. Never miss.
Yeah, you're a singular jerk in a circle of saints, right? So it sounds like everyone around him is, what he says, surfing a wave. That's probably a metaphor for having fun. He's a singular jerk in a circle of saints. So he's like the odd one out, right? He's kind of prickish. He's sad. He's depressed. It sounds like he's wondering why everyone around him is different when he's darker than most, right? He's saying people thought it was a bird or a plane. He thought it was a hearse in the rain, right? He's seeing the darker side of things.
Took for a bird or a plane, mistook for a hearse in the rain. German a wound, bit a few heads of a hydra. Did meet friends in the lens of his Leica.
Wow, you said a lot there. We're going to have to break down germ in a wound. And that can be broken down so many different ways. But germs, right, when you get what's called like harmful microbes, right, they reproduce when they get inside of a wound. That's what gets it infected. It prevents it from it prevents the process of healing. Which in itself could be a metaphor to what he's experiencing. But I like what he said after that. He said, I bit off a few heads off a hydra. Let's run it back. He's talking about his friends, though. And when a hydra, I think he's talking about the hydra of Lerna. It's normally just referred to as hydra, but it's like this serpentine monster. It goes back to like Greek or even Roman mythology. But when you cut the head off a hydra, two more heads come out of the fresh wound, right? But he's saying, I bit a few heads off a hydra. When you bite off someone's head, it kind of sounds like he's chewing someone out, right? It's like yelling at someone or being very critical of someone when you don't always have good reason, which also could be a side effect to his Abilify. That it sounds like the medication he's taking, but also it could be a side effect of his depression, right? Because what did he say? He said something about deadbeat friends right after that.
A singular jerk in a circle of saints. Never mistook for a bird or a plane. Mistook for a hearse in the rain. Germ in a wound. Bit a few heads of a hydra. Deadbeat friends in the lens of his Leica.
In the lens of his Leica, right? So a Leica is a high-end camera. The cameras, it's basically the Rolls Royce of cameras. So Leicas are extremely expensive. Well, relative to, the purchase of other cameras, but they're all handcrafted. Every part, right? The screws, the motherboard, everything is assembled by these like really skilled workers. It's considered like fine precision engineering, German engineering too. Again, through this lens, they were deadbeats. So does he see them as snakes, like the monster, or is he seeing them through a lens and it's not necessarily true? It's because he's distorted, right? We already know he's battling depression. He's on these antipsychotics. So is he seeing them incorrectly through this lens, like you would through the lens of a Leica?
Bit a few heads of a hydra. Deadbeat friends in the lens of his Leica. When a stink eye turned fire into ice, I would rather die on spike.
When a stink eye turned fire into ice. A stink eye is basically a dirty look, right? It kind of reminds me of the poem Fire and Ice. That's a Robert Frost poem, right? But Fire and Ice, when you start talking about it, it's a metaphor for like desire and hatred. Right, the fire symbolizes like burning desires, but the ice is normally hatred, right, or ice cold hatred, or passion versus hatred. Kind of reminds me of the cold never bothered me anyway, right? Oh, Frozen face. So it sounds like that's what he's getting to, right? He's talking about the opposites of fire and ice, or love and hate.
The lens of his Leica. When a stink eye turned fire into ice, I would rather die on spikes.
Ooh.
Do you ever take to a colony? Take note of your escape velocity and watch.
Wow.
Not care who you.
Before you ever take to a colony, take note of your escape velocity. That's just a really incredible way of saying something rather simple. It's saying like it seems like he's saying before you submit yourself to being part of a crew, know what it's going to look like when you need to get away from them, right? If something doesn't work out. Escape velocity, I don't know if it's mechanical engineering, but basically escape velocity is the speed. It's like it's an object's what they call kinetic energy, and the gravitational potential energy has to equal zero, right? So it's basically like how quick you can get away. Or like if you think of it with gravity, right? When they say like minimum velocity that's required by an object to escape the gravitational field of Earth, right? So if you were to shoot something, can it go so fast that it doesn't fall back down, right? Gravity doesn't exist anymore. It goes past the gravitational field. But it sounds like he's just saying it in a way where he's talking about being able to escape either friends that aren't real friends, they're snakes, or possibly they're not that bad, but he's seeing them through this effed up lens because of his depression. I guess we still don't know yet.
You ever take to a colony, take note of your escape velocity, and watch odd folk not care who you are, from an empire builder to anywhere bar.
Watch odd folk not care who you are.
Live from an empire builder. Empire builder. Live from an empire builder. Hi-ho silver.
Hi-ho silver. Hi-ho silver away, right? That's a catchphrase. It's by the Lone Ranger. It's an old school show. When he wanted his horse to gallop away, that's what he would say. Hi-ho silver away. Of course, his horse was named Silver, but that's a Lone Ranger reference.
Hi-ho silver. Live from an empire builder. Empire builder. Live from an empire builder. Sultan of sublimation. Have you ever seen such evasion?
Sultan of sublimation. A sultan is similar to not necessarily a king, but I guess it still can be considered a leader or a ruler. Sublimation, it's a defense mechanism, right? But let's let it ride and hear context here.
Sultan of sublimation, have you ever seen such evasion? Work till he well done, bacon, a borderline burnt. A certified temperature, wide birth, night king, wild earth, weather hand with.
Have you ever seen such evasion? So it definitely sounds like it's a defense mechanism. I wonder if he's roasting with his friends, right? Like we kind of alluded to that earlier, but he said work till he's well done bacon or borderline burnt. That sounds like when you're roasting with friends, right? But that could also be a version of a defense mechanism, right? The roasting makes sure the temper or the temperature pushes people away. No pun intended on birth, right? Like birthing a baby, but he's talking about a wide berth. And we're not talking about your mom, oh wide back ass, oh big Bertha face. No, but a wide berth is when you're deliberately avoiding someone, right? You're keeping a comfortable distance from someone.
Bacon, a borderline burnt, a certified temperature, wide birth, night king, wild earth, weather hand with the serum, his old man haunt him, his own fan fear him.
Oh, I wish I watched Game of Thrones. I know he's referencing Game of Thrones here, but I'm not going to get the reference because I haven't watched the season. He said Night King, Wild Earth, bite a hand with the serum. The Night King is that the Ice King, right? That he's like the ultimate embodiment of death. But I didn't see all of them, so I don't really know the reference. You guys are definitely gonna have to help me out in the comment section there.
His cold dead hands are attached to a breathing meat. To learn to roll weed with its feet. Do not make me turn this car around. No sleep till the bars of bar to town. Bar case bump to a claw marked Arkham. Bars on a window.
A claw marked Arkham. That's that the Batman claw from the game, right? From the Arkham Knight game, I believe. And then he referenced the Bar-Kays. The Bar-Kays are a funk band from like I want to say early to mid 60s. They had a couple good hits. I can't remember. I think they did one of the Shaft songs. They had a couple hits, but the Bar-Kays are from yesteryear for sure.
No sleep till the bars of bar to town. Bar case bump to a claw marked Arkham. Bars on a window. Barbs in a jargon.
See, he could be talking about roasting. I wonder if I got the reference there because he said bars on the window, right? Bars on the window, barbs in the jargon. He's not talking about barbed wire. He's talking about a barb. A barb is another way of like it's a unkind remark that's normally criticism of someone or something related to them. It's very similar to what we call today roasting. It's just it's another way of saying it, right? Roasting someone is more urban, if you would. And just a fun fact, since he's talking about barbed wire was actually, random fact, was created in a small town called DeKalb, Illinois. the same town that Cindy Crawford, the old famous supermodel, is from. It's also the home of Northern Illinois University. It's like one of 3 things that ever happened in DeKalb, Illinois. Let's let it ride.
Bar case bump to a claw marked Arkham. Bars on a window, barbs in a jargon. Black armband, offsides on guard, dark guard marksman. March through the heartland. Dream of a chair and a...
It definitely sounds like he's referencing, I believe that's football, right? Offsides. I don't know if they have offsides in other sports. I don't really watch organized sports like that.
Yard from an empire builder to anywhere far. Live from an empire builder. Empire builder. Live from an empire builder. High pass filter. Live from an empire builder.
You know, with this one, this wasn't my favorite. I'd say I've definitely been coming into, I like Pizza Alley. I like Dorks. I like, was it Mystery Fish, Daylight. There's just some that, you know, the flow isn't quite as there. I like more of the darker, the kind of the beat, the kind of rhythmic. This just wasn't my favorite. This is only the second one that we've checked out that's listed under Malibu Ken. But definitely not my favorite, but we're going to continue diving into more of Aesop's work. Man, if you guys are fans of Aesop Ross or just like Aesop Ross, of Aesop Rock and just like the intellectual breakdowns and going through his catalog, show some love, like the video, subscribe to the channel. We're going to continue getting into his work as well as other artists. There should be folders for Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, Toby Wigway, Logic, Nas, Aesop Rock, and then we're getting into other artists that are on that same Rhymesayers label. We'll see you guys on the next video.